Okay, they should be seeing us in a second. All right, everybody, you should be seeing and hearing us live. If I could get some chat and the thumbs up or something to let me know in the chat that you are hearing us. If you are hearing us, feel free to ask questions in the chat. Somebody chat. Audio.
And the silence is deafening.
Somebody
That's
chat.
all right. We'll get there.
Chat. It says I've got audio. Come on, tell me we got audio.
There isn't any place where we can. I can. Good afternoon, everyone. That's me. Okay.
There's audio.
Randy, thank you, Randy. I hear you now, but low volume. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will see what I can fix
Jason
there.
hears us.
All right, turn the volume
Good
up.
afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for coming.
How's the volume now? Is that better? It should be better, I hope.
Loud and clear, Jeff Moore. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Kevin,
Your
you
cats
can
are
hear us
not loud
good?
enough? Who's
All
cats?
right.
We don't have cats. If we had cats, you'd be seeing Dean here going like this. Because he's
very allergic to cats.
Whoops.
Very allergic to
Very allergic to cats. Extremely allergic to cats.
All right. Everybody's here starting to talk. Thank you. It helps a lot.
Oh, hip cat's on the screen. Okay, that's good.
Here, but volume low.
I'll still see what we can do to touch the volume a bit, but I think we should be better. And some are saying loud and clear. So we'll go with that, and we will see how it is. Let me see. While I'm doing this, I'm going to try a little test engrave because I didn't get a chance to test out the laser. Again, questions are welcome. Any topic at the moment. We'll start the demo in the next 15 minutes or so.
Connie Hewitt. Connie, I have 3 pieces on my desk that are supposed to go to you, center bands. So don't think I forgot about you. It's just sitting there, and every time I think about it, I'm nowhere near where I need to be to ship. I will try to get them out this afternoon. So thank you for your patience. And yes, one that you had might have been bad. I really don't care. We'll get you a couple of new ones, and hopefully that will solve your issue. So my apologies for the extremely long delay. But honestly, I have not forgotten about you. I just haven't gotten it done. Maureen.
The Axe Tool fiber laser is very nice. That would be a case. I would agree, Harold, from what I've seen of them. This one's not the fiber. But it is working, so that's good. And it's going to be noisy when it's running, so we're going to try and not run it too much while we're demoing it. But you're not on. Oh, you were on.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Whoops, we've got tracking turned on. Let's turn off tracking. Let's see if tracking still works. Okay, tracking is off now. Good. As you guys can tell, we're playing with some new things. Hopefully the picture is better. Yes, Harold, this is an original F1. So it's got a blue light and a IR laser in it.
Hey,
Yarrow from Ukraine. I'm awfully happy to see you. And from time to time, I think about you as I'm packing back there. Really good to know that you're safe and sane, I hope. And certainly we have great sympathy for the problem in your country. We're in good health. We have a lot less to worry about than you do, my friend.
I don't follow them close enough. Yeah, this is an F1. There's an F1. There's an F1 Ultra, which is about this much taller, and then there's a brand new F2, which is bigger as well and can do a lot more things too.
We feel very fortunate to have Dean here today. Obviously, he comes from Green Bay, so he's got an hour-plus trip, and we appreciate him coming down and bringing the equipment and so forth. He's been doing this for a while, so with any luck at all, he can give you at least a good basis that you can learn and build on.
Did you get the slide paper and Microsoft on the website yet? Rigo asks. Dawn?
No, it just came.
Dawn says no.
I will tonight. So
Good to see you too, Revo.
She says she'll get it up tonight.
I finally have it in house. So
Didn't make pens for the last year.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Here's bad.
Yeah, Yarrow makes a lot of pens. When he was active prior to the problems in the Ukraine, he
and really nice pens.
makes really nice pens, really very advanced. So we miss him, not so much because of the business, just because we were concerned about him.
My daily carry. Let's see, I want to see if I'm just playing with the screens here. All right. Yeah, there's my daily carry.
Gee, I bet I know who made that.
Wow.
Not so much who made it, who made the blank.
I made the pen. We know who made the blank. For sure. Hey, Scroller Bill, Jerry Kent, a couple of Missouri people in a row. Nice. That's awesome. Okay, that's working. Did I do? Try and do this just to be sure. See if we can get it zoomed in. Whoops, that's not right. All right.
Well, we really want a good view of the keyboard.
I'm trying to get. Oh, I know what's doing wrong. I'm trying to get a good view of the laser. That's what I'm trying to do. Whoa. That got real bright.
We can turn off bank 2, and that will kill the light to this side considerably.
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
it's up to you.
Let's give it a shot.
We'll walk up to that and push 2 on to the door, Don.
That does.
But off 2.
Anthony C says, Shoot got the time wrong. Actually, Anthony, you're probably not. We actually start the demo in about 5 minutes at 1 o'clock or so. Oh, that's funny.
You're here. That's all that really matters. Very soon, 6 minutes from now, we'll get started.
No, I just got texted. My better half just said, "Would it creep you out if I was watching you?" Bryce asks, "Is the any Opal Juniors in yet?"
we just ran out of most of them. I hope that John sends some soon.
Yeah, basically, it's John is responsible for way too many things. Obviously, everyone wants feathers all the time.
Need to have the MM logo behind.
And of course, everybody wants opals all the time. So John is doing what he can.
We do have the seam ripper opals up.
We have the seam ripple, seam ripper, those. And he sent us some new colors the other day with a new, he's using a new method of pouring. So they had a slightly different pattern to them. And within about 2 hours, almost all of them were sold. So, it's a problem when John sends anything. I just got a note the other day from a gentleman who said, he hasn't had feathers in a long time. And I look back at his purchasing records. The last time John had feathers, this particular individual bought 10 of them. Now, if everybody bought 10, it wouldn't take long before John's 100 and some are gone. So, unfortunately, John's products are very easy to sell as pens.
But take a long time to make.
And they take a long time for him to make, and he charges too little for them.
Yeah,
so
they're a good deal. That's
what
for
it
sure.
comes down to is, in order for us to stem the demand, I will be talking to him about the possibility of substantial price increases so that the people who are buying 10 are going to pay for them. But we started out with him hoping that people would buy one or two and learn. Unfortunately, the guys who do shows did learn, and it's a real good profit center for them. And I don't fault them for that. I would do the same thing. But that means that when a whole bunch of stuff comes in, it doesn't take long before they're out. So,
Anita, welcome. First time watching for Anita. Good to see you here. Bryce says he's got the Sierras. He needs some Juniors and Galaxy Opals. Lawrence says, do you have stilettos in Opal? What's a stiletto? It doesn't ring a bell to me.
I don't know. Dawn walked out of the room.
Dawn ran away.
You need the expert in the crowd. We're getting a few of the guys from Saturday morning cartoons.
Yep, that's where Anita's at from, right? I remember seeing her on there.
And
I thought that rang a bell from that.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
It's a sewing tool like the seam ripper. Lawrence is curious if we got stilettos in Opal. I don't know if John's made stilettos in anything.
Stilettos, is that the same as the seam ripper?
He says it's like the steam ripper, but I don't know if it's the same blank or not.
Yeah, same length.
I'll have to check on that too. But I'm not sure off the top of my head.
I know John made them for the seam rippers, Lawrence. I don't know enough about the seam ripper line to know if that product is the same size or if you could adapt one of his to a different length. In other words, many of the seam ripper things are not really length critical. There's nothing, the reason that pen tubes can be critical, if you have a click mechanism or a finial twist, you have to have the right length to make it all work. So you got the right one of us. That's good.
No. If you make an L, it zooms in and out.
My hand is telling it to come to me. Sorry about that.
So we've got some new. So for those of you who watched for a while now, we've got some new cameras. There's two motions that the camera can do. If you put a high five up, it'll start tracking me, and it'll start moving with me. And you put a high five up again, it'll stop tracking me. And if you shape an L with your finger, it'll automatically zoom in, and an L will zoom out. So you lifted your hand up, and
So
it said,
I
"Hey."
had to change the way that I present, generally speaking, because I'm always
Talking
moving
with
my
my
hands.
hands. Which we can turn that off, but it was on by default.
Oh, well.
So I got here, hi Steve from Wales. That's awesome. First time for you. Hi Jacob from Puerto Rico. That's awesome. I'm going to the Caribbean later in about 2 months from now. Can't wait. We're coming up close, so we'll give another minute or two.
Get up.
You're going to run away. You can stay if you want.
Yeah.
There's no reason to run away.
You don't need me on camera. Essentially, what I will do is let Dean have the whole camera situation, and I will be here. So if there are questions or anything that I can be of use to, I certainly will be available to give you information.
I would say they're the same. I could open up the instructions to make sure.
Oh, it
they're
sure looks
close
like
enough.
it. It sure
They're
looks like
close
the
enough.
stiletto and the seam ripper are the same. So who was asking the stilettos? Lawrence. If you find it and have the seam ripper blanks in place, that should match the stilettos. They look identical to me.
They're both 7 millimeter.
I think so.
Yeah, they're the same length
Yep.
and everything.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony.
You're good.
Hey, Jim.
It will work.
90 watching. Okay, I'm going to want some more feedback. So I'm going to start my demo here soon, but we have a lot we'd like feedback on. So there's a lot new going on here. I'm running it from here, so there's no little director in the corner this time because I'm doing it from here, which could make things interesting, but we'll try our best. We do have some new cameras, so we'd love to know feedback on audio quality, video quality, especially for those of you who have been seeing the shows before. Let us know what's good, what's bad, what's otherwise. And then the other feedback that'd be interesting, this is our first weekend show. We're doing it on a Sunday afternoon, not on a Thursday evening. The top reason it is Dean wasn't available any other evenings because of work. And Dean had to come down to Exotics anyway. I've got a new lathe that's coming home with me. So I had to get down here anyway. So that's why we're doing it on a Sunday afternoon. But who knows? If this is a great time for people for lives, maybe we'll do it some more.
Yes. Yes.
Does that mean more delays in your future?
More lathes. I don't know. My wife threatened to watch this, so it'll be interesting to see if she watches this. Not because she's actually run the laser. My wife has actually run the laser and done some stuff herself to run the laser, but she's actually thinking about picking up and trying pen turning, which would be super cool.
That'd be cool. Very cool.
So Now that we all have 2 lathes in the house, we're going to dedicate one to her if she gets to that point of actually wanting to do it. All right, so today's topic is laser engraving, and I'm going to go a lot of high level. I will actually run some things. I don't want to do a super lot because it's going to be. She said, "I am watching. Quit talking about me." It is going to be somewhat high level. We will do some things. I don't want to run a lot because the thing does make a lot of noise. It takes some time, but it does. It does. It does take up a lot of time and noise. I don't want to run a whole lot, but I also have a lot of high level. I did give the basics of this demo at MPG last year, so I'm working off a lot of that, which is the basis of a whole lot of this. So starting in on some of the demo discussion, what is laser engraving, right? Laser engraving mostly is a subtractive process. So whenever you look at things, you're engraving something, whether it's a mark or whether it's a cut, you're always subtracting material. So you're vaporizing material. In some cases with some lasers, you're heating it, not necessarily vaporizing it, but in general, it's a subtractive process. Why laser? Why laser versus something else? It is high precision, high detail, suitable for a variety of materials. Again, based on your laser in general, and I will talk about that a little bit more. Some of the applications, you can customize, you can enhance, create from scratch. So we will talk about some of those, and I've got some demos of certain things. I am going to start out talking a little bit about safety. Safety is huge when it comes to lasers. There is 4 classes of lasers, 1 through 4. The higher the class, the more risk there is. So pay attention to your protection. Sight protection, either glasses of the right type or an enclosure. So for example, the X tool here, you can see when you're lasering down inside of here, there's an enclosure that completely circles and does it. You'll see none of us are wearing safety glasses because that enclosure has the right wavelength to stop anything from coming out there. Lasers are extremely dangerous to your sight. Don't mess with your sight. Ventilation, remember, I'm subtracting material. That material is finer than anything that most of you guys doing turnings is doing. You're not talking chips, you're not talking dust, you're talking micro dust. So you do want to have ventilation. In the case here today, I've got mine feeding down to a ventilation system that's here. Other people can vent some certain things outside, but no matter what, you want to vent that. You don't want to be breathing that stuff, and I will tell you, it's terrible smelling even when you do ventilate it. So if you don't ventilate it, it's very bad. Emergency safety. Know where your quick stop are. Most of the bigger lasers, this one's pretty straightforward, but most of the bigger lasers actually have an emergency stop button, an e-stop button. Know where that is, because if something goes wrong, you want to stop that laser quickly. I also was going to grab it. I didn't grab it, but I was going to bring with my my little extinguisher bottle that's by my other laser. Have stuff nearby for fire safety. Fire safety is critical because it may work just fine, but all it takes is something moving, something getting stuck, and all of a sudden you're lasering the same spot over and over again, and instead of just lasering it, it's going to start on fire, and it will start on fire really fast. Another one people will say, you'll hear if you go to the laser groups, people will say, people will say that you can walk away from the laser engraver. You can walk away from your CNC. They all have a certain amount of risk. Some of them have more risk than others, and they are definitely a higher risk item. Now, the first, number one question, and actually nobody's even asked it yet, which is surprising. Nobody's asked the question. The number one question I always get, what laser should I buy? When I was at MPG, I had a slideshow, and I'm not going to bring the slideshow up because I haven't got that connected here today. But I had a slideshow. The slideshow I said with that is, what type of laser do I need? I've got a perfect analogy for that. The analogy I've got is, what type of Honda do you need? You know, maybe you need a Honda. I drive a daily driver, SUV, CRV Honda. You can have some lasers that, for example, my Boss, Thunderer, some of those are your typical day-to-day drivers. That's your day-to-day driver. You know, maybe I need a Honda motorcycle, something small, fast, lightweight, and there we go. There's a fire extinguisher that we keep close by on the lasers. Maybe you need a motorcycle. The F1's a great example of a motorcycle. It's faster, it's lightweight, it can move quick. We'll see how fast that actually lasers pretty soon here. But it's doesn't have the capabilities. It will not cut the way my Boss will. Maybe you need a watercraft, right? Honda makes all kinds of different watercrafts now. something specialized. It's got to do a special material. Maybe you're looking for something that can handle glass. Maybe you're something that can do certain things with metals. Or Honda makes a jet. If you haven't seen the Honda jet, it's pretty darn cool. It's also got a very, very big price tag. So do some lasers. You know, one of the first questions I get asked a lot of times is, "Hey, can I cut this metal?" Nope. Most lasers where you're going to cut metal, you're looking at 6 digits or higher on a price tag. You're looking at $100,000 plus before you really can actually cut metal well. There is some newer ones that are getting to the place of sidetracked. I guess stop. I don't normally have to watch chat and do this.
Don't read the chat.
There's F2. There's F2 can actually do some engraving on metals, but again, cleanly cutting metals is a very different thing. There's two different very things. All right, so I will answer a couple questions as I see them. Can I give the details of the fire extinguisher? This guy is just I think it's actually Tundra brand, if I remember correctly. It's a First Alert. It's a First Alert portable fire extinguisher. It's actually less messy than some of your full-blown fire extinguishers, and it's small enough to keep it handy. I'm pretty sure you can actually just find it on Amazon.
That's where I got that one, Amazon.
So you should be able to just find it on Amazon. They're not that expensive. I don't remember off the top of my head. I don't want to say it's $30, $40 if I remember correctly for a small one. But again, the risk of fire, especially on some of the bigger ones, is real. And so mine sits literally on top of my big laser. This one I've been pretty good with, but my scope of items on this is usually 2 inch by 2 inch, and so I'm not quite as worried about the stuff as some of the stuff. I've got a laser that can do 14 by 20 at home inches, and if you're working with something big and wood, you're not going to be able to just grab it and put it out. I like etching, but laser marking is a black burden look. Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit. I will actually show you some things with that. That is a setting issue as much as anything else. They do all etch. They don't all necessarily burn. They are subtracting it, and with wood, you're in general burning, but not necessarily in that burnt look. And like I said, I'll show you some of that a little bit. So, prep. What do we do to prep for our laser? What materials? It's based on your laser type. What's your desired effect? Do you want very detailed stuff? Do you want light engraving? Do you want deep engraving? Do you want cutting? So I'll use a couple here I'll pop in and we'll do some close-up stuff and give you some examples of some of the variations. This guy. All right. So there's kind of a dark engraving. So that's I would almost call this a deeper engraving, but not a super deep engraving. Light engraving, does it burn? You can go stunningly light. This is extremely light on this wood. Matter of fact, if I took a bit of sandpaper to it, it would probably disappear in a heartbeat. You can go pretty dark on engraving. There's a piece of Purple Heart with a bit of a darker engraving. A lot of that comes down to materials, and I've got some other ones that I'll show you in a bit that have some variations of it.
Here. We're off camera.
Go ahead. You can do very deep engraving. Here's an example, and I'll get back to talking this one some more again. This is on an acrylic, and it's deep. It's deep. I mean, you can actually feel the groove in it. It's a deep engraving. Let's go back to the main camera. Prep. You got to clean it. Your materials have got to be clean. You've got to be. You might want to mask, depending on what you're doing, and I'll talk about masking when you want to do that a little bit. And positioning it is important. Where is it going to be? How's it going to be? How big is it going to be? When you start getting to round objects, it gets much more complicated because positioning on a round object is 10 times harder than a square or flat object, because not only do you have the size concern, you also have your field of view and things when you do on round. Actually, you take a perfectly round item and you engrave it onto a circular item. Instead of being round, it's going to look oval. It's going to look squished because of the curvature that it's actually engraving at. You can see that a little bit on my fidget spinner cup. This is actually an example of something that my fidget spinner is a round logo, but if you look at it, it doesn't look round. It looks taller than it does wide if you look at those circles.
Do you find oak is difficult?
Question. Yeah. Okay. Do I find oak is difficult? Oak can be problematic. The grain in it can be problematic. I will tell you, actually, the funny thing is every wood acts a little differently. So I've got, if I go pop back to the camera, is the other camera again, close up with me. Nope, wrong one. Lay it with me. Those are the mugs. We'll talk those a little later. So maple, walnut, yellow heart, purple heart. I did similar settings for all of those. They're all different. Oak is different because of the grain. I will tell you, a lot of people you will see engrave cutting boards that are bamboo. And for those people who turn bamboo, bamboo is not wood. Bamboo is a grass, and it is awful. It's dark in some areas, light in others. I've with my bigger laser cut things, and maple, walnut, yellow heart cut beautifully. I can't cut purple heart for the life of me. You try and cut purple heart, you basically end up scorching the heck out of it instead of it actually cutting. So it is definitely different materials need different things. We'll talk about settings in a little bit. Testing. So you got to calibrate. Every single thing that you burn is going to burn differently. Sometimes the exact same thing will burn differently at different times. So I've got up front, I've got some of the tumblers that we've made for exotics, and depending on the thickness of the powder coat, it may take different power settings to do it. And that's just a production difference. I mean, that's not even a difference in something natural like wood. That's just the powder coat on this blank was twice as thick as the other one. So settings matter. So, and when I say kit settings, it's a combination of settings. Most lasers, you're tweaking two things to begin with: your power and your speed. The faster your speed, the lower it acts power-wise. You start increasing your power, it'll start doing things. It's a combination of both. You know, most of the time you're probably going to want your speed pretty high so that you're actually getting it done in a decent amount of time. But you may end up reducing your speed to get that better engrave, or increasing your speed to offset some of the power offsets so you don't get the charring that somebody had mentioned. Running your laser. Position, position, position. Whether it's clamps, jigs, something in a flat surface, whether it's the actual setup of something you do over and over again, positioning it is going to be critical. The second thing that's kind of critical, I don't know if we're going to be able to see it on the camera well, but if you look, I think you can. Actually, let me try zooming in on it here. We'll try zooming. So one of the other critical items is, you can see I've got two dots here. One's a red and one's a blue. The two different dots are the focus points. On this laser, to get your focus to be exactly in focus, those two dots have to line up together. However, testing comes into play again because sometimes you don't want it in focus. One of the interesting things is, so if you're getting a really dark burn and you want to increase that, you would increase your power. However, what might work just as well is to reduce your power some so you're not actually burning it the way that a lot of people will see a burn thing. Take it out of focus a little bit and engrave it more than once. And you'll find out by doing that, you'll get a better color engrave without the burn, the char. Let's see, did we see any questions? Yes. Make sure to keep your lens clean. I will tell you that's one of the biggest tips. In general, these things give off smoke. Keep your lens clean. If your device has an air assist, use the air assist. That air assist keeps the lens clean by pushing air through it, and it also helps cool off the thing you're burning to, again, stop that burn faster. So that air assist, if it's got it, will actually help you cool down, stop the burn, stop the laser, help you be more consistent with it. I use a low-level air assist, 5-ish PSI when I'm engraving, and 40 to 50 PSI sometimes when I'm cutting, so that cut is going through, and that laser's cutting through and burning really hard to get through the material, but that air cools it down so it doesn't residual burn after you finish the cut. Should I use the laser engraver before or after applying CA or finish the wood pan blank? I will get to that. Give me a little bit, Jacob. That is definitely something I'm going to talk about. And I will tell you, have a checklist handy. I will tell you, my checklist literally sticks on top of my laser, has focus, origin, frame, power, air, exhaust. And those are my things that I always, before I start any burn, focus is making sure things in focus, because otherwise, if you're significantly out of focus and you start that laser running, instead of the beam being super narrow, it could be super wide, and it will still engrave. It just won't give you the desired look, and you've destroyed your piece. Origin is, this piece has, the F1 laser doesn't really have an origin. It moves the head. Most bigger lasers, your origin tells you where to start on it. So if you've lined yourself up and you say, okay, this is where I'm going to engrave, but you forgot that your origin was over here, you start your engraving, the head moves and starts lasering somewhere else. Framing it, I'm going to attempt, I should probably actually do that with this camera. Let's see if I can get this camera.
Yeah, they said that you're pixelating when you use the other one.
When I
So.
use the other one.
Okay, there you go.
Let me see if I can get camera 3 here to see if I can. Camera 3. Give me a second to get this camera in place. Let's see if we can get that there. Nope, that's not the right button. Where am I?
That's that one.
Oh, yeah, it is. I'm just trying to see if I can figure out where the lathe. But I do not like the remote changes the camera on me too.
What are you trying to do? Get it on here?
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, come with it. There. See if that'll.
There we go. So framing, and I'll demo framing here. We'll actually do our first little turn to show you some of this. So to demo framing, jump over to my software. I've got my nickname ready, and if I say framing, I think, oh yeah, you can see it on the camera. Good. You can see there's a little box that shows me about where this thing's going to go. Some lasers, that's all you've got is a square box around it. This one can actually do a second kind of framing, which is kind of cool. That'll actually do an outline. So if I do this and start framing, you can sort of see actually what it's going to laser. You can see that as it refreshes. I don't know how well the camera picks that up, but it looks like it's coming across the
Yeah, it's
laser
looking
too.
good on this one.
I don't know how well the camera picks that up.
That'll be a reverb.
And then just to show you how that works, so I just said that. And if I process this guy, this one's pretty quick. So we'll do our first little test grave just to show how this works. Now when I do this guy, he comes on.
There are a number of people who have lasers who have talked about they're still in the box for the last couple
I saw
of years.
that. Somebody with the P1 still in the box.
I'm not trying to talk a little bit about how much of a pain is it to set this up initially.
Yeah. It's a learning curve, that's for sure. Okay, so that's done. So now you can see if that's how quickly it engraved. The F1's pretty quick. It's good for small engravings especially, but the F1's pretty quick. Let me go back and answer a few of the questions here before they go too far off. Yeah, for those of you who have a D1, it's not that hard. Give it out and take it a try. Do you need to vent if you're, I'm going to go back to safety a little bit here. Do you need to vent if you engrave on metal? I tell you, you need to invent, period. No matter what you're doing, you're putting off fumes. And for those of you who do turning, I don't know about you, but I vent everything. And like I said, in general, engraving on metal takes a unique laser in the first place. This one will do it a little bit, but not necessarily really well. And no matter what, you're going to find there's going to be give off. Even when you're venting, we smell it. My wife will complain sometimes when I did 24 mugs, eventually it can't vent 100%. You're going to smell some of that. So I would say in general, vent it all. Sarah asks if I'm a light burden user or an X-Tool Creative Space user. I actually use both. I use Lightburn for my big laser. I have used Lightburn for this guy as well. To me, Creative Space has got some built-in stuff that really works well with the F1 and their series of lasers that I will use their software. I will use both. I love Lightburn to death. I would use Lightburn on here in a heartbeat. The dual-headed laser with the two different types, it doesn't switch real well easily in Lightburn. So I will tend to use XCS for this. Although I will do all of my design work in Lightburn because it is significantly better it is significantly better in light burn for design things.
What's the wattage of it?
This guy has two. It's got a 2 watt and a 20 watt. 2 and 10. 2 and 10. Sarah, this is not an Ultra. The Ultra is about 4 times the size. The Ultra is not as portable as the F1. I think it's 2 and 10. There's a 2 watt infrared and the 10 watt blue.
Where can you get the mugs?
Ah,
I think I know.
I think I know where you can get the mugs. Matter of fact, there's going to be 2 things. One, the mugs, there will be at least one giveaway where you can pick one today. And 2, I do have a limited supply of them made. So Dawn was going to get a spot on the site where you could purchase it at some point. But we will set them aside with your name on them. If you want to purchase one on the fly here, we'll tell me which one you want. We'll set it aside with your name on it. The mugs are $25 a piece. Like I said, we will give at least one of them away as we get going here.
Are those made with that laser? They're not.
They're not. I use the Boss for those. In theory, you could use this laser to do it, but in reality, I've stuck with pretty small things on this. The capabilities of the Boss are so much better for it.
You may want to mention that you have a couple of different lasers.
I do have 2. I have like I said, I have a 14 by 20 inch Boss, which is a 70 watt CO2 laser, and then I have this guy. And if I could manage to pull it off, I'd love the new. Does the mug come with M&Ms? I'm sure that's probable.
Everything comes with M&Ms.
Yes. This session is being recorded and will be available on YouTube. Yes. That's why we've moved to YouTube. Not only do we get the repeat views, you guys can come back, you can see it, you can rewatch the stuff, especially when Dean's talking, because Dean talks fast.
No.
Be careful, Dawn. I can turn the camera. Watch Dawn run out of the room. So yes, it is being recorded. You will be able to come back and watch it. Talking about materials, woods. Hardwoods are great for detail engraving. Maple, oak. Again, oak has got some weird sometimes, but maple in general, oak still can work for detail. Cherry, for example. Softwoods engrave super easy, but they're going to char. So somebody asked about the charring earlier, the blackness. It will char. Some woods are a nightmare. I will tell you, I can't cut Purple Heart for the life of me. I can cut most woods on my CO2 laser. I cannot cut Purple Heart for the life of me. I burn it. It'll get through it, but I'm not cutting it. It's like taking a propane torch to it to do it. There is another one if you want to grab. I think find another box with that one. Who was this?
That's okay. We'll take care of
Dr.
that.
Jules.
You're doing enough. We'll take care of this.
Grab another one. There's at least 3 of most of the mugs, so grab another one like that. Settings. Start low power, high speed. If it doesn't work, run it hard. Run it more. Run it more. Run it more. Testing is going to be important. Post engraving. If you add a mask, remove the mask. Clean it, add on, and finish. And I'll talk about all those a little bit again. Acrylics. If you're dealing with acrylics, not pen turner acrylics, if you're dealing with sheet acrylics and you want to do things on a laser with the sheet acrylics, there's 2 types. There's cast and there's extruded. And they each have a purpose when it comes to lasers. You take a CO2 laser, cast acrylic is good for engraving on. So if you want to put something on a clear acrylic so you can see it through it, it's great. Clear extruded acrylic is better for cutting. One works one way, one works the other, and they are very different. Settings. I will tell you what settings with acrylics, including our acrylics. Low power are good.
Is there any complication because they're round? A lot of this stuff is on the pen.
Yep.
And therefore it's already round. Is that going to create a difficulty for...
It can. And we'll talk a little. I'll talk more about it when I show some of this stuff. But yes, It can definitely. Round definitely is an interesting problem because again, I talked a little bit about how round gets weird because of the oval shapes and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to logos and such, the interesting thing is round gives you that curvature issue. Round on our pens has an amazing amount of curvature.
Mm-hmm.
Ton. So acrylics, especially some of our acrylics. So like this guy, right? So if I'm back to nice.
It worked.
So like this guy, he's an acrylic. Start out low power to avoid melting, because if you start going too high, too hot, too fast, it won't just remove that material. It's going to heat up the stuff. And anybody who's taken a softer blank and heated it up too much on the lathe and started to see it melt, because you can do that with some materials on your lathe. You get your tool hot enough, you're going to start melting that acrylic when you're doing it.
Yep.
This is you're intentionally heating it up, so it's not too hard to get it to the point where you're going to melt it. Go back out. Thank you. Avoid overheating. Again, overheating is going to be bad. Post engraving, you can take a soft cloth, acrylic, anything else you normally do to polish them. In general, I'll talk about pentering again and polishing when we get. I'm going to specifically talk about pens at the end here a bit once I get past some of the laser stuff. Metals, some lasers can engrave. Some of them, like this guy, can color change them, but you're not going to cut it for sure. You're not removing any real material. You can change the color on it. For example, for John, I did a set of handcuffs for him at one point in time for something, and engraved on the handcuff.
Mm-hmm.
But even that, this thing had a hard time with. They actually make a spray that anodizes. You spray it on, it sprays on, stays white.
Mm-hmm.
The laser makes it black, and then it's permanently black.
Cool.
But in general, you're not going to do a whole lot with lasers with most of the bottom end lasers. Hey, why are you focusing nice? Okay, there we go. You can do, and what most things are, is you can remove material. So, for example, the mugs are powder coated. Things like these little dog tags and metal business cards have a layer of black paint on them. You can remove the paint and get down to the metal. But you're not really metal engraving. You're engraving things off of the top of a metal object.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Getting to round before we actually get into the actual pen stuff. Round requires a rotary. There is two types of rotaries. There's one like this guy. That's called a chuck. A lot like your chuck on the lathe. Holds the blank, spins it around. The other is called a roller. And what that is it has a couple of rollers, usually two of them on each end or a long one that goes between. And what happens is things like these mugs will sit on these rollers here, like my fingers are, and those rollers will turn the mug from the bottom. Why do you need two different types? One, size, and number two, I talked about focus early on. Focus is important. If we take a look at this mug, it is not flat. If I set it here, you'll notice there's a ramp. So most of the rotary chucks, I'll take a little extreme here. Most of those rotary chucks will have a bit of a ramp here, but you can adjust the end until it's flat. So if you look at what I did there, and you can tell by looking at this, it's flat now, but this is no longer at a 90 degrees, which means if I just have the standard chuck thing style, you can't do these guys and do a really good job with them, because a chuck's going to do this. One end's going to be in focus, the other end is not. That rotary lets you adjust it so that the top is flat and parallel to the laser, even though your end, which is where your chuck would normally be, is not. And again, positioning is important. So again, flat is important. So if you've got an object like a pen, you're in pretty good shape. Even if it's got some curvature to the pen, you're okay. You're not talking huge amounts of distance. If you've got something else like a bowl, let's say you wanted to, I want to engrave on the outside of a bowl. I can get it chucked up, and you're going to have a problem because only a certain amount of that is going to be in focus, which means only a certain part of that's going to have the right power.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I'm talking fast. Okay, let's see what we got. Let's see. We got that one. So what's the difference between the Boss? This is a big one too. What's the difference between my Boss laser and the X-Tool P2 laser? The P2 is a newer laser and it's fiber, so it's a different wavelength. You can get a fiber laser from Boss. Boss is a brand, just like Chevrolet is a brand, right? Just because I've got a Chevrolet, I could have a pickup truck, I could have a car, I could have a electric, I could have an SUV, the whole shebang. Boss has got several different ones. My Boss is a CO2, and CO2 is fabulous for wood, fabulous for plastics, doesn't do metal worth a darn. The new P2 is supposed to be, because it's got a MOPA fiber in there, it's supposed to do a pretty good job removing some material, deep engraving on a metal. You're still not going to want to use it to try and cut, because if you ever watch some of the videos about the P2, you'll see them doing coins and stuff. And just like this guy, he lasers quick. That head moves and he lasers quick. What they don't show you is to get that three-dimensional coin, they're lasering that thing hundreds of times. It's going over and over and over and over. So it's removing material, but it doesn't remove a lot of material at a time. So cutting, could you cut metal? Sure, if you told it to go back and forth like 1,000 times. So Regal, if that, let me know if there's more questions to follow up there. How well does this laser engrave a name on a pen? I will tell you, it does a fabulous job once you know what you're doing. And I'll explain a little more in a minute. The light burn material test. XCS and light burn both have a material test. Basically what it does is, on a certain size grid, let's say 2 by 2 inch grid, it'll laser out, you'll give it a ballpark idea. Oops, I did zoom. It'll give you a 2 by 2 zoomed area, and in there it'll do like a 5 by 5 grid of power on the X and speed on the Y. And you'll be able to see on your specific material, hey, if I wanted to engrave, as you go higher power and lower speed, it's going to be very dark. If you go higher power and higher speed, it's going to get light. If you go lower power and lower speed, it'll be somewhat light. It'll actually do you a nice little grid on your material to give you a rough idea of what it is. It's an excellent thing to give you an idea of what your laser is going to do. Because one of the other funny things, if you ever go follow a laser board, the first question everybody asks when you show something is, what settings did you use? What was your settings for that? And I can give you my settings. But my 70 watt CO2 tube isn't going to be the same as your 70 watt CO2 tube, and alignment and focus and everything else. You've got to play with the materials just like you were learning. When you're learning to turn on a lathe, when you're trying to do that, it's not just plug it in and go. What I like Dick Sing's answer for that too, right? What speed are you turning at? Right? What power are you at? I don't know. It's one that tested out and worked well for me for that material.
As the machines get older, will they also, when 70% new, is that going to be 70% 2 years from now?
No, especially with the CO2 machines. Your CO2 machine is a glass-filled CO2 tube. It's an actual. These guys, I don't know the lifespan on how these guys work internally. Mm-hmm. Some of the other excited lasers, but CO2, one, they eventually lose their power because they're slowly leaking CO2. Slowly, mine's 6-7 years old, maybe more than that now, 10 years old. Number two is they do age, like everything else. They'll age. The tubes are a replaceable item. So eventually you will have to replace certain things. And without a doubt, which is why somebody says, what's your settings? My settings are not the same as yours. Yeah. My settings from 3 years ago might not be the same as they are now.
Exactly. So if you have a book that tells you exactly what you're going to do for each individual one, throw it away over time.
Yep. Here's a good question. How do you know which acrylics are safe to laser engrave? There are so many types of acrylics for pen blanks. I will tell you in my experience, pen blanks are the safe material when it comes to acrylics. Your acrylics, the danger zone, are when they have C in it. So a lot of people will say, hey, I can engrave a record. I've seen actually people cut records and cut out records and stuff. I can engrave a record, and I can engrave this. I can engrave this. If it's got PVC in it at all, don't go anywhere near it. PVC is polyvinyl chloride. The C is the danger part when it comes to lasers. Mm-hmm. When you are vaporizing that, you're making chlorine gas. That chlorine gas has two very bad things in general. It's got things that will destroy your lungs like you wouldn't believe, and it destroys your machine. So I've heard people go, oh, but I just vent it all and I'm good. No, it actually doesn't, because it'll actually eat the metal. There's some people overseas that make records, and they will replace that machine every 6 months. because it literally rusts itself because it destroys the metals in the machine. So in general, avoid anything with chloride. Anything with PVC, you're out the window. But most others, I think you're in pretty good shape. So if you're looking at acrylic pen blanks, you're in pretty decent shape. I have not come across one that I've done a safety thing on and had a problem with. Your Alumilite, your epoxies, your PR, I have not found anything that has caused them any problem. I will tell you, vent them anyway because they stink to high heaven. But but yes.
Can you fill an engraving with paint?
Aha, yes you can. And matter of fact, I'm going to talk. I'll get to that in just a second. Diode lasers do have a lifespan. I would agree. Almost everything's have a lifespan. Matter of fact, diode lasers. There's a diode laser in here. Diode lasers are pretty common with a lot of the low end lasers. Come on, zoom back up. There we go. Zoom back up. Diode lasers are pretty common. In general, part of the interesting thing with diode lasers is they have to be heat sinked very, very well. They are likely to...
Yeah.
Damn it.
You did it.
Did it again. My bad. Turn that off. Diode lasers will heat up drastically. They run for a very long time. They're slow, most diode lasers. And that heat will slowly destroy them. They have to be heat sinked very well, cooled very well. Diode lasers do have a lifespan. I think they all have a lifespan in general. When doing a show, can you run with a small power pack at Jackery? Heck yes. I will tell you, the wattage requirements of this laser and its thing is not very big. I've run it off of I've run the laser on a temporary basis off of an 18-volt Ryobi converter. So a decent sized Jackery would probably run you all day, running your laptop, your laser, and your thing, depending on the size of it. Like anything else, it's a matter of watts that you've got available. But yes, this thing will run off of something like a Jackery. Sarah, yeah, chlorine. Yeah, chlorine's bad. And Sarah says, I think the heatsink on our D1 Pro is bigger than the laser itself. Probably so. Like I said, they draw off a ton of heat and mustard gas. Yes. Again, with if you have a doubt of your material, if you go look online, there's ways to test for chlorine. Some of them are heating. I've seen if you heat up a piece of metal and touch it to the plastic and take it back off and light a lighter on it, you'll be able to see a green flame, which tells you there's chlorine in it. But yeah, in general, if you don't know, don't do it. All right. So, pen turning. Everybody here, again, I want to talk about pen turning. A couple of things. If I didn't get your question from before, be sure to bring it back. I am going to talk about John's on.
Yeah,
He says
John's
the
here.
handcuffs are not great. I do want to talk about pen turning in general. So, what do you want to do with your objects? One, can you fill them? Oh, heck yeah. You can fill them with paint. Let's do this. Close up with me.
How can I help?
Nope, I think I'm just,
Okay.
nope, wrong one. Lathe with me. There we go.
Picture of the motor.
Get him out of the way. Paint fill, without a doubt. It's the number one thing that I backfill.
I just don't want it to fall off
He's
there.
okay.
Okay.
It's the number one thing. When I engrave acrylics, I will almost always paint fill them. If I'm just doing a normal word name in acrylic, etc. Whether or not I finish on top of that, it depends. Depending on what it is, the paint fill could be enough. If it's something that you know is going to have a high usage, I would tell you to finish on top of the paint besides. So paint fill is definitely one way. The other way is this guy was a relatively shallow engraving, and he's filled with just some glitter-like material, some dye, and UV resin. I know Dawn carries an Alumilite UV resin. You just put it in there, you use bright UV light, even a battery powered UV light to harden it, and I put it back on the lathe. So in this guy, I lasered it. I put it back on the lathe, turned it a little bit because that UV resin might be higher in spots. You want to get back to smooth. You want to get back to round. And then I did my typical CA finish that we all know about very well here. Everybody knows the CA finish, right? So I do the same CA finish that John and Mark and Ed have always shown. I'm a big fan of Glue Boost. It works great. One of the questions that I saw earlier, and it's one I want to make sure, I'm always asked, hey, can you engrave this for me? Can you do this? I'm a pen turner. Can you engrave it for me? Can I put a name on it? Yep, piece of cake. Well, when should I do it? I tell people if I'm going to laser engrave it, I can do it at just about any stage. In my opinion, the absolute best stage of the game for pen turning, for laser engraving something on it, is after you've done it, after it's all finished, 100% ready to go and be assembled, but not assembled.
Mm-hmm.
I will laser engrave us an assembled pen kit. I will warn you what that means in terms of if it is. If I laser engrave an assembled pen kit, it's going to have a little bit of feel to it because you're taking that material away, you are removing some of that material, and it's going to have a little bit of a feel to it. It's also not going to be finished exactly the same as the rest of your pen. I will tell you, it's best to do that. That way you can turn around, get it back, put it back on the lathe, and do another final finish. The next question I get from a lot of pen turners is, well, if I'm going to finish it again, why on earth should I finish it the first time? And the answer for that is our finishes for these pens actually make engraving it a heck of a lot better. Because instead of engraving that wood and then having any material that you've removed possibly get deposited back into that wood, if I don't have it finished, there's a good chance that wood's going to have that embedded in it almost at a microscopic layer. And so, especially right on the edges, you'll see that dirt dark around the edges. If it's finished, I've got a bottle of 99% alcohol and wipe that off of the CA finish, and it's clean as heck. Which means if you're not going to go back and finish it again after, it at least looks good and it's clean again. If you are going to finish it after, all you're doing is redoing your finish, and you're just putting some more on top. In general, I can take a finished pen that I've had finished for a while and redo it, and you're just adding to the quality. This is no different. You're adding a finish back on top of it.
As you're turning, and I don't know the answer to this, so if it sounds stupid, that's the way it is. As you're turning the pen, it would seem to me that you would want to keep your body absolutely straight as much as possible, because if it's got a curve to it, it's going to knock that out of focus as it hits the center because the distance is different.
I will tell you, unless you're making a bumblebee styled Sierra, where people have done the real or wasp Sierra, right, where you're going from narrow to really wide back to narrow. In general, the focus that I've done, you won't have a problem.
Okay.
So you can actually go, even on like some of the mugs, there's some that you still end up with a little difference. You can actually, here, let me do this. So I'm going to do this just for kicks. I'm going to run this guy again, but I'm going to take him out of focus.
Now you're playing John Underhill. This is what happens if you do it wrong.
This is what happens if you do it wrong. So Yaroslav says, I have filled deep engravings with opal powders and UV resin for very expensive pens. They can make some gorgeous pens. This guy, well, I probably should. This guy isn't all that hard, but it is a pretty pen. The little dragon that I made, it's a very pretty pen when it's all done. So, I don't know how well this is going to show, but we will try. Thank you. So, this was the engraving done correctly. This is the engraving done a little out of focus. And it's tough to tell the difference overall, although I would tell you, take a look at the P. If you notice at the bottom of the P there's actually a gap in the loop. Mm-hmm. In the out of focus one, that's gone. By taking it a little out of focus.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, if for some reason something would have been just slightly out of focus, I'd probably be okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you go a lot out of focus, then you get worse and worse. But depending what you're doing, but in detail, you can definitely be out of focus and be okay. And I will tell you, on a normal pen, like I said, short of a wasp swim line, you're not going to notice.
Okay.
And in general, I'm going to try and go a little deep anyway, because like this guy, for example, you want to give yourself enough depth if you're doing this type of a filled engraving to give yourself some material to have in there to have some bite.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what we got. Harold says nice fill. Thank you. Other ones I have using the CO2. Again, this is CA finished after the fact. These guys are not engraved. These guys are cut. So if you buy the blanks from Dawn that have all the little pieces, same thing. It's all the little pieces. So this is a pretty simple 2-piece blank. Oh, I've got one that's not.
Your camera is searching for you.
It said, where'd you go?
The listing is gone.
There it is. Where'd he go? He's back. Boy, it did search it for me, didn't it? So here's one not finished. Little cross. The interesting thing again, testing is essential.
See a bit of a burn line on the end.
This one definitely still has a bit of a burn on it. The other thing that's interesting with this is if you try and get into things where you're making pen blanks like this, the interesting thing is you actually have to size these things different. It's not just cut one piece out of the one and turn around and cut the other piece out of the other.
Mm-hmm.
The pieces are sized different. And if we look really closely at it, if you look at the ends, those guys aren't square. Because you're turning through a round object that's cut on angles. So fitting it into this thing, there's a lot of design work to actually cutting something this small.
Mm-hmm.
But again, so this is one. So for example, this guy was one. He's cut deep enough that if I wanted to, I could finish him and not fill him, and it would be okay because it's got the burn marks, and I would fill in that with a lot of that with finish. It's not cut all the way through, but it's cut deep enough that the burn is good. So you've got lots of options in terms of enhancements. You've got, I will tell you, let me go back. So somebody asked about paint. Why do I paint things? Because I will tell you, this one shows it really well, how much it stands out. If you engrave on, say, my F1, where I don't have a lot of depth and I'm just doing an engraving, you're going to have a tough time seeing it.
Okay.
So again, the right machine, the right tools, the right depths. All right. So where's the future going? The future is going to change lasers. Camera change. There. Future's going to change lasers. They're getting more powerful, cheaper, and having things like AI. That F2 that just came out that people are talking about has AI built in. Supposedly, one of the things it's interesting, by having the MOPA, it can do multicolor. You can take a piece of stainless and color it based on the amount of heat. You can basically distemper the heat, and the amount of color and the type of color, supposedly the AI will actually help you figure out, if I told it to be red, it's going to be red. If I told it to be this shade of blue, it's going to be blue. And that's, again, done by the amount of heat that it's transferred into that metal, because you're not really changing the color. You're heat treating it to a specific color.
If anybody's buying these Prism pen kits, as I understand it, that's essentially the same thing. We're all familiar with gold titanium. In reality, a lot of the things that they're coming out with are a different type of titanium, but the same concept, where it will depend on the heat that they put on it. That will give you different results from one color to the next. So, yeah, it is an interesting section, and it's something where we're learning a lot about it as vendors of pen kits. I'm having things proposed to me that are various different colors and all essentially the same thing, but
Just different.
they make it differently. So yeah, it's an interesting thing.
The other one that and we'll get to some of the questions in a second here. The other one that I will show is I did throw a quick burn on the rotary to the exotics blank. This guy. And what I'll tell you, it's a good example of it's tough to do something, names on a pen blank. Piece of cake. Matter of fact, I won't use a rotary 90% of the time for names because I'm running the long way and I'm going narrow enough that I don't need to. If I want to get a logo on it, there's two problems with it. One is getting the logo to be able to be seen depending on the amount of detail because you don't have a lot of space.
Mm-hmm.
So like even on this guy, you'll see blanks is kind of almost not there because it's much a smaller font. The other interesting problems you'll see is I made it a little too big. So it looks good as a logo, but reality on a pen, I've made it too wide. There's too much of a rotate there to be able to see enough of the logo at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Sizing, fonts, there's so many variables with it. Somebody I shall not name had a non-dean person engrave a pen blank and told him it couldn't be done. I showed him pictures of the ones that had it done. Can be done, for sure. If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't practice, if you don't try, it won't work. And as a matter of fact, the color-filled one here, this guy, it was just I did this right before MPG just to prove how good it can be done in almost no time flat. And it doesn't even have to be anything special color-filled depending on what you're going to do it for. This is just white acrylic paint. This is just the 99-cent stuff in Walmart bottles.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if I was finishing this for real, I'd probably put a finish on top of that paint. But
Mm-hmm.
in general, the color fill itself isn't all that hard. Bryce asks, does the F1 go deep enough to paint? It can. The F1 is really an engraving machine. You're going to run it more to get it down. It's got immensely amazing detail. But to compete with my 70-watt CO2, it will take a lot more passes and a lot more time for it to do it. The other thing, I'll talk a little bit about the difference between two different types of lasers in a second, that in terms of doing things like engraving. The amount of passes to do it on my F1, if I was in a pinch and I wanted to do something and had the F1 and I was out and about, I would probably figure out how to do it. If I'm sitting at home with the F1 sitting next to the Boss Laser, I'm going to do it on the CO2 all day long, without a doubt. So the answer is sorta, yes.
Problem is they really need to practice this with ones that they don't care whether it turns out or not. If you go to a show and somebody says, yes, I want that pen, I want it engraved, you got one shot.
And I will tell you, yeah, the F1 is portable. You can take it on the fly and do things. I don't know if you guys are working a show, I don't know how to do it. I've done things on a show, but doing things on a show means you're backed up working on the laser versus selling. If you're going to take a pen and somebody wants it custom engraved, have some examples, show them what it can do. Ask to ship them the pen when you're done.
Yeah.
Take it home.
Take it home and take the time. Do a couple of tests first.
And I will tell you, testing. The amazing thing is if you're going to get a laser engraver, you're going to test. You're like, hey, does this acrylic test well? What are my settings for this acrylic? How do I get the right depth of this acrylic? Here's the cool thing. Take the exact pen blank that you're planning on using and test on it. You're going to turn 90% of that surface off anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you know exactly what kind of power and font and everything. I've actually done it where I've taken a pen blank and done 4 fonts on 4 different sides to see how well they look and go, that one's terrible, that one's terrible, that one's pretty good, that one's great. And pick the font and then gone, okay, this is going to be what it's going to be when it's done. Sarah asked about the M1 series that Exel's putting out. I will tell you my thoughts, and again, these are my thoughts. I don't like a multifunction device. So I know there's things like the M1. The M1's supposed to be a printer, a cutter, a laser, and a bosser, and all these things in one. If you only got a little bit of space, cool. If you are looking for those devices and you're going to use them a lot, you're better off with a dedicated device. Bamboo just came out with a 3D printer that's also going to have a laser head on it. So you can have a 3D printer and print stuff and then laser. Great, but a 3D print doesn't like sticking to plates if there's dirt. You're going to take a laser and you're going to laser all this stuff and get crap everywhere. And you're going to have one device that works great for one thing, but not so great for the other. I like single devices in general. That's why the M1 I've never even dreamed of, because it's trying to compete with a Cricut and be a laser and be all of this and be, hey, cool, I got one device can do all this stuff. In general, in my opinion, devices that can do a lot of different things do a lot of different things okay. Devices that do one thing tend to do it well. Jim asks, yeah, okay, Jim. So Jim and Yarvo are chatting there. Paint fills, yeah. Again, in general, he sounds like he does the same thing I do. Acrylic paints after you've polished. So then you can do things. You can return it. You have so many options that you can do by doing that way. Finish it, get it all set, fill it in, finish it again. And if the time is worth it when you look at what the end results look like.
Another thing I've experienced in using acrylic paint to fill in is that you don't want the paint runny. Do it at a dry brush, otherwise you're going to get it into the pores or the grain of the wood.
Yep.
And it's going to go sideways, and you're going to get...
Mm-hmm. It will go sideways. All right. Okay. I don't see anything. So I will tell you, let's give away a mug, which means I have to figure out how to run this from here. Give me a second to set this up, hopefully.
Just on your work on. Can you read the rest of that on yours?
Just found your work on Facebook. Beautiful.
Just a point of interest for those of you who are joining us after the original time that we were chatting. Yaroslav is actually in Ukraine. He's been a customer of ours for probably 10 or 12 years. So, we're always happy to see him here. We're always happy to see him safe. And he hasn't been buying nearly as much stuff now that he's got all kinds of other problems in his life, but we sure look forward. He is an excellent pen maker. Over the time that we've known him, I've seen some pictures of his. He is an excellent pen maker. So don't take him lightly. He's a heavyweight.
Sorry.
Oh, look at that. That's a cool page.
Yeah, we can run that page once we get multiple honors working really well. All right, where is my drawing? Customize. Let's do just the word.
It's hard when you're trying to do everything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So, to win our first mug, let's type the word mug into chat. And then I'm going to get the camera down and show you the ones we have to choose from. And I will tell you, in addition to winning one of these mugs.
Can I do that for you?
Nope.
Okay.
I'll get it.
Okay.
Camera 2. In addition to winning one of these mugs, if you actually want to claim one of them as your own, a specific one today, we do have a couple of each of them. They're all a little different sometimes because the colors are variations on these guys. Post-it note it.
Yep. I didn't know where these were. I didn't realize they were underneath me.
Then if there's one that you want, we can set it aside. Again, I don't know if Dawn's got it on the site yet, but they will be on the site for $25. And we can set aside specific ones for you. Back to the other screen. Switch display.
This one.
I'm going to go to the close-up camera. No, let's just do just the close-up camera. Take me off the camera. So to make sure I've got them all, you can see we've got, which end am I on? That end or this end?
That end.
That
No,
end. Does
It's
that?
not, it's not on an end at all. You're in the middle. This
Oh,
is the
sort of
buy.
middle. Okay. So we've got buy blanks, hide them, repeat. I don't have a blank problem. I have a collection. Blank hoarder and proud. Blank pen makers do it by hand. My fidget spinner with the picture of the lathe. Pen turning is my superpower. What's yours? Let's see if we can get it over to the other one. Two. Superpower. Okay, wrong way. This way. Pen turning is my therapy. One more blank, I swear. All right, we'll give him another minute. Let's see. See if there's anything beside mug comments in here.
Does mug please work?
Sure, as long as they got the word mug in it.
Be careful of autocorrect when you come up with MUB.
Walter, yeah.
It won't put it in the drawing. So redo to MUG.
Yeah.
This is all automated. Dean doesn't have any input into who wins. So for those of you who might be concerned, it's all part of this software where it decides who wins, and all we do is make sure that the mug is in.
Eventually, I'm gonna try and get like, like Jacob does at some point, and do the spinner on the screen.
No.
But yeah. Again,
That's nothing like watching that screen when
Oh.
he decides that he's going to do a elimination.
yeah, no,
He's got like 40 of them in there, and 2 or 3 people are there 5 times. But
I think that his elimination for that, I think, is people who have bought into his club,
Yeah.
so they have multiple things.
yeah,
This one is set up, you only get one drawing no matter how many times you chat. So
cool. You can never buy too many blanks, Connie. It's absolutely impossible to buy too many blanks. And if you don't believe it, someday I'll clean up the basement at the house enough that I can actually take a picture. And you will be amazed at how many hundreds of blanks you can have very well organized for that need to make a pen.
okay, so we got
And then never
33.
do
So I'm gonna wait another minute or so. We got 33 out of the 99 that are watching. They're in it. So
It's a good picture.
what's that? Oh, these
Of
cameras.
yeah.
Like I said, I think we'll be happy with these, especially once we can get some more stuff set up.
The ones in your head did pixelate a bit.
Yeah.
Which ones? Oh, the old ones.
No,
No.
zoom toward you.
You zoom too far, and it definitely
Pixelate,
does.
So we kind of need to,
But
keep them far enough or close enough to the subject so you don't have to do any. But that's just a matter of learning.
yep. How about a few thousand blanks? Yes, Bryce. How does the drawing work? Yes, it's actually. So Sarah, it's a good question. So how does the drawing work? And Ed talked about it a little bit. What it is I've got software. So when I do things like you'll see, I just pop your question up onto the bottom of the picture. There's actually a plugin for this the tool that we're using that lets us pick the chat things and pop them up onto the screen. But what it also does is I put a keyword into it, and it looks through the chat as they're coming through, gathers every name that types it in the first time. If they type it in twice, it ignores the second and third, and so on and so forth. But it goes through and it grabs all the names. And after I've said, okay, time's up, and we do it, I hit a button that says pick the winner, and it just tells me one of the winners.
Yeah, random generator.
It's some sort of internal random generator. It's not. I don't know how it does it number wise, but it's a blanks never expire. So yes, John says blanks never expire.
Says the blank.
Can't have too many. Says the guy who creates enough of them that are beautiful as all heck. Dr. Jewell says, I am an IT professor. I love the circuit board blanks. I actually can remember when the first people that actually started making those circuit board blanks would actually like rip apart circuit boards to make them. You want to talk about you want to talk about fumes and dust that I would avoid like you wouldn't believe. Oh man, that's a nasty one. Yeah. Bryce says, how about a few thousand blanks? Yep.
She turned over 3,500 blanks in the last 30 months. I have great sympathy for you. We used to do shows. I would do 40 one day, and I was awfully tired of looking at them. So when you look at 30 months, 3,500, you're 350 and 100 plus per month. And that doesn't sound like fun at all.
Right. Sarah says, is it a YouTube-based thing? No, it's actually all the stuff that we've been talking about is the software that we use to stream to YouTube. As you've seen, we're not just a turn on one camera and go on YouTube and go. We have multiple cameras and Connie says she's got 2,200. We have multiple cameras, multiple angles, multiple mics. We're trying to get better each time with some of the stuff and improving it. So it is much more about some of that. Connie says she's got 2,200 plus. I have no idea how many blanks I've got. I don't want to know. I'm not that type of person. That's too much thinking about it. Harold says he weighs them by the pound. There you go.
If you're doing shows, and I know Connie does, there's a completely different idea there because you'll sell a bunch of stuff at the show and then you want to go back to your shop and understand that if it sold at this one, it may want to sell at the next one. So I certainly want to have one that's just like it. So particularly for those things that you sell a lot of, you can have 50 or 100 of one blank and still not be overstocked in it. I know I wasn't. The other problem I had is every time I walked downstairs to make a pen, it was which blank. I spent more time wasting time looking at which blank. Grab one, make a pen, and see if the next person buys it. There's no reason why you have to be all that selective.
Okay, our winner, I just went to the other screen and drew it. It is BWL408, which...
Congratulations.
Whoever you are, we need two things from you. We need information at sales@exoticblanks.com, and I need you to put in chat which one you want.
As far as for Bruce, those were discontinued. They came from Bria.
Yeah.
They discontinued them.
Yeah, a lot of stuff comes and goes in this industry, and the circuit board sheets, they were a good idea, but they really, unfortunately, when people try to do some of these things and they're not successful, it becomes more of a detriment to the company involved. That particular project was done by Bria, and I think that they got too much negative feedback on it. So,
BWL, chat in the chat, please. He was one of the later ones, I see. He was at 205, so maybe it takes a little bit to get to chat. But get to chat, let us know which one you want. I know Jim Edwards says, I'm thinking of buying single color blanks and spending my time and Illuminate on multicolor blanks. Makes sense. I mean, in a lot of ways, if you're making your own blanks, distinguishing yourself with how you make those colored blanks would make sense. If you need a single color blank for something, for whatever reason, it's a lot of work to make an exact match on a single color blank to do that yourself.
And the single color blanks, particularly right now, there is a fair number of them coming out of India with Penn State. That product is good. So for those of you who look at it and say, I'm not going to take that chance, take the chance. I'm pretty knowledgeable about different kinds of plastics, and I've turned a couple of them, not a lot, but they are nice. They aren't like all other plastics. It's not a bad idea to paint the inside of the hole, but it isn't necessarily required of some of them.
Dream series.
I'm sorry?
They call them Dream series.
Dream series, is that what they call it? Well, it is nice stuff. So yeah, don't be afraid of Made in India. It's an up and coming. as we start dealing more and more with the tariffs, and at some point in time, India will have their situation resolved. But they do put out some very nice product at this point that Penn State has available, and of course it's resold through us. So yes, this is a commercial. Go ahead, Dee.
BWL has still not responded.
Yeah, well,
While we're waiting for
we'll
that,
find
though, let me get to the other screen. I think we'll do our other drawing that I was planning.
okay.
This is the one we can customize. Ed, do you want to grab me the
This.
Yeah, I
Oh,
got it.
okay. I'm sorry.
So the second drawing we're gonna do is we will have it customized. I will try and get it done, and if we still have time and questions, maybe I'll do it on screen. Maybe I won't. But we've got a can koozie. It's a leatherette can koozie. It's got the Exotic Blanks logo on it. I'm actually gonna make it in black. This one's in tan. But I'm gonna make a black one with the Exotic Blank logo on the front, and I also have a coaster with a can opener built in. It's a really cool product, actually, because it's really heavy duty. It's nice and heavy metal. Sits nicely. We'll put the Exotic logo on this one. But for customization wise, whoever wins this guy, we can put their name on the back side. So not only will we need your information, but I'll also need to know what you want written on the back side. We'll customize it and put something on the back side.
When the piece is black, what color is the print?
So the print is normally a goldish color on that one.
Thank
You
you.
can give them different colors, but it ends up being a gold. So what you're doing is, again, you're removing that black top leatherette layer to a colored gold underneath, and this, or like this guy, this is actually removing the top layer and giving the brown underneath. If you go too far, if you go too hot, you go too heavy, it'll actually go back to black again.
So those are purchased for this purpose. You buy those
Yep,
from a
they're
vendor
special.
Okay.
They're
Thank you.
designed to be laser engraved. Yep,
Thank you.
they're very much so. Sarah, you need more than one lathe. I'm getting my second one today.
Are there going to be any special sales? The mailer's going to go out today, so.
Yeah, the mailer goes out today. So yeah, there will be a special sale that you'll see at the end of the day today. Little spoiler, it will be on the Diamond Knurl rollerball, and it will also incorporate the Diamond Knurl convertible, which means the rollerball plus fountain pen front end. So those will be the things that are on this week's mailer. In addition, there will be the material to make a pen, and that will be the Conway series, because this pen, the Diamond Knurl rollerball, looks really good with those blanks. So go ahead.
No, I just laughed. Crash GTR asked two questions: who makes the mugs, and then the blanks, which I'm not sure if he meant to have said that wrong. But if you're asking who makes the mugs, it would be the guy who's doing the demo and all the laser stuff. And the blanks, if he's asking the actual the source themselves. So you will find the biggest laser engraving company for product in the U.S. is JDS Industries. JDS is where my mugs come from most of my laser products. I could try and hide that, but I'm not going to. You guys, everybody knows it. They actually are a really good provider in general. I'm very happy with them overall. They've got like 11 warehouses around the country. That's how big they are. The closest one is in Chicago, and you can actually usually get products like shipped next day, which is if you're over a certain amount and stuff. It's pretty impressive. I know you engraved them. Yeah, my bad. Yes, they are JDS, Crash. Again, I use JDS for most of my laser roll products just because it's just the easiest thing for me. There's other vendors out there. If I've got something specialized I might want. But they have a lot of really good products. I mean, other things like my dog tags and other little things like that, I don't necessarily do. But all right, I am gonna start the second one, and I didn't know a nice, easy, short word, so I'm just gonna go type my name. So your presenter here again. This is my first presenter. Type Dean in the chat. Type Dean. That'll be the second giveaway. We still haven't seen the first one. But... Good question, Sarah. I'll get to that in a second, and while the stuff starts flying by. Sarah asked before I lost it. I'm gonna type
Borax.
Yep, borax. Sarah asks, have I ever used the borax method for anything? The borax method, what she's talking about is if you take borax, dilute it in water, put it on some wood, it changes the engraving capabilities. It'll actually give you a more robust, smooth, dark engrave on a lot of materials. I have not done a lot with it. I debated using it for like bamboo. Like if I wanted to try something on bamboo, I've debated trying it with bamboo. The main reason I haven't is 90% of the stuff that I've done with bamboo is cutting boards. And I have no idea what that's going to do to the cutting board quality and this and that, and I don't want to mess with it. So I have not actually done a lot with it. I've seen it quite a bit. I've seen it on the chats. Mugwinter did respond. So we'll have to go look at it. But yeah, it changes it. But it also, and Crash just said the other part I was about to get to too, borax can change the wood color. You can actually dye the wood color in addition to dyeing your wood. So in general, like I said, I've gotten pretty good at my settings. If you play with your settings enough and know what your material is and get your settings right, you can get a pretty darn good engraving without messing around with things like borax. I have seen guys do some amazing things with borax. But again, it's just, I have not found the need to do it then. I've got Crash. I should have you here demoing with me. You've got you are correct on most things you say. Again, defocus. If you've got something that isn't engraving dark enough for what you want, take that focus away a little bit. Run a couple of extra passes. By taking the focus away, instead of you being a real tight spot and burning that one area too much, that laser is burning a little bit wider area, and you can do it a couple more times and get a more consistent dark across things. Yeah, again, testing and settings and stuff is 90% of the what it is to get some of this stuff done. And let's see, go back. BWL. Oh, there we go. BWL says he will take one of the I don't have a blank problem. I have a collection. Gotcha, BWL. BWL, send sales@exoticblanks.com an email so we make sure I have your contact information. We know who you are. So you focus on a D1 Pro. I don't know much either, Sarah. My guess again is a distance. Most of those lasers where the head moves. Oh, I was going to talk about that before a little bit too. I will come back to that in just one second. I don't know how to focus either. Usually it's distance. Usually it's physical distance. Coming back, one thing I meant to talk about earlier. Somebody asked, can you do the deep engraving on an F1? So here's the interesting difference between an F1, which you see engraves really, really, really fast, and my CO2, where the head moves and it engraves slower with a lot more power. The head moving keeps that laser straight down all the way across your blank. So when I'm engraving my deep engraving, it's doing this engraving straight down the whole time. The F1, the F1 Ultra, and the F2, the reason they're so fast, there's no moving head like there is with a big CO2 laser. Basically, there's a mirror up inside of the top of this thing, and that laser beam is just getting pushed back and forth and around with the laser. So if we look here, and you see this bouncing around, what it's doing is there's a gimbal up inside of this thing that's bouncing that laser all over the place, which is why it gets its speed, because it can bounce back and forth and it can engrave super fast. However, the flip side of that is that laser is starting here and is straight down in the middle, and the further away from the center you get, it's actually engraving on an angle and it's further out of focus. So in theory, you could engrave it again and get it deep enough, knowing your settings, knowing your width, knowing your thing. It's again testing. So yes, it is. Yeah, Sarah talks about Galvo. This is called a Galvo laser. So, no, my bad. Galvo's the other thing. No, it's a Galvo head. Brain fart. But it's a Galvo head that moves this around, which means, like I said, for engraving, the thing's lightning fast. But if you're cutting, if you're trying to get deep, you have it's a little harder to do that. W. Bradburn. I'm hoping, and let me know if you're not, you're saying your production value has improved a huge amount. I hope you're actually talking this show versus the last, because in general, like I said, we're making some changes right now. New cameras, new style, new other things that I'm hoping takes us up a notch. Matter of fact, I'm actually looking forward to the next show that happens where I'm not here, because I'll be able to control these cameras remotely and actually have some time to play with it some more and some of the production values. What?
Production, he saw that, I think.
What did I see?
Production value improved a lot.
Yeah, he did. That's what I was asking. I'm hoping he's talking about our production values. That's great. Do I think it's worth buying the F1 Ultra or the F2 when I have the F1? Great question. Yes, the F1 is Galahad. Thank you. My brain went sideways there for a minute. Do I think it's worth buying the F1 Ultra or the F2 when you already have an F1? The F1 Ultra, you really have to have a specific reason for it, in my opinion. It's a bigger device. It's different. And I'd have a tough time unless you have a specific purpose that the F1 Ultra can do that the F2 doesn't, or that the F1 itself doesn't. I would say if you're looking at the F1 Ultra at this point in time, my gut says look at the F2. The F2 is a brand new device. It's going to take some time. It's going to be something else. It's a much more capable device than the F1 Ultra, and it's in the same ballpark of price range as the F1 Ultra. My non-insider knowledge, my guesstimate, is that I think the F1 Ultra is going to become a light version of the F2 at some point in time. The F2 is the better device, especially given that they have a couple different heads you can get, including that MOPA that can do metal. So if I personally was going to get a third laser right now, it would be an F2 before it would be an F1 Ultra. That being said, would I go straight out to the F1, the F2? The F2 is getting up in the ballpark. There's a lot of other name brand, tested and tried lasers in the market that would compete with it. That'd be a tough call. And the F2, you're getting to a pretty price tag again. There's a lot of others out there that I think I would be torn to consider versus the F2. And again, the F2 being brand new. Once we see some more people with it in reality,
What is the ballpark cost?
I want to say the F2 is $5-6 grand, I think, somewhere in that vicinity. And so was the Ultra. The Ultra was pretty close there too. Crash just post comment. He had an F1, bought the F1 Ultra, and it's much faster, more powerful. Agreed. It's got double the power on the one laser for sure. And he wished he would have waited for the F2. Regal says he ordered the F2. Hey, Regal, reach out. Let me know what you got. The F1 Ultra was $3,600 last year. Yeah. And I think the F1 Ultra is about $36. I have a funny feeling it might drop. But again, they may... the F1, after they came out with the F1, they came out with an F1 Lite, which only had one of the two laser heads to get and drop the price a bit. I could see the F1 becoming a specialized and only one laser instead of two and dropping the price and calling it a Lite. The F2 is the big baby at this point in time for them. And again, it's smarter. It can handle metal. It can do a bunch of other things. I can't wait to see what the F2 looks like. But again, it's new, so it's hard to tell. Are
these all made in China?
I have to believe so.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Recognize that in the near future.
Oh, actually, yeah, it is definitely made in China. Matter of fact, I've seen some demos from the guys who designed and stuff, and yeah, they're definitely a full Chinese company.
So you're going to get hit with the tariff sometime soon. So if you buy these things now and you get pre-tariff pricing,
all right,
congratulations. If you don't, it's going to go up 30%.
Tariffs are 30%. It's already in effect.
Yeah, well, yeah. If we buy anything new from China, we're paying 30% in addition to our illustrious government. So for those of you who aren't real familiar with politics, it just basically means you're going to have a price increase.
I'm going to draw for the other thing so we get that out of the way. And then, like I say, we're coming up at 90 minutes. Is pretty much where I guessed it was going to be. We can keep going with questions and stuff. David Lang, Lange, is our winner for the second one.
Fantastic.
Oh,
David, if you want to let us know what name you'd like on the backside of your can koozie, we'll put Exotic Blanks on the front and your name on the back.
Congratulations, Dave. And thank you for the plug the other day. I appreciate it.
put his IP name.
His IAP name is just his name backwards.
Well, like I said, we'll let him choose. He can do whatever he'd like. Can you explain the rotary as far as the hookups and types? Yes, I can. In general, your rotary machines are going to be, your rotary tools are going to be tied to the machine you buy. So there's a couple companies that make specialized rotaries out there that will work with different machines. Your X-Tool rotary, for example, is designed for X-Tool. In general, it's very, very tied. Let me see if I can put some space over here to show the rotary. So if I take the rotary for the X-Tool and put them on here, this guy is...
What guy would be helpful?
Just pop this guy. Put the rotary in here. This rotary is specifically tied to these machines. This one happens to be a USB-C plug, although the rotary that this guy is actually comes from X-Tool with like 4 different plugs. They've got a plug for their M1, they've got a plug for this guy, and a couple of others. Let's see if I can focus him. Oh, wrong way. In general, it's tied to the machine because it knows how much to turn it. Because in this case, this one's a USB external. In the case of my Boss, I actually unplug the Y-axis out of it and plug the rotary in its place, and it uses the rotary instead of the other direction. So instead of moving front to back and left to right, the head only now moves left to right, and it steals that front to back connection to use for the rotary connection instead. Let's see if I can get this. I'll show you a rotary one real quick. Just we can do a rotary turn. Dave, just looking for Dave. Nope. And actually, this one from X-Tool is actually can go from chuck to roller. It's actually got rollers to it, and it's kind of a pain in the rear because you have to disassemble the thing and put it together and put the rollers in. It took me 20 minutes, I think, the first time I did it to switch it from roller to chuck. For my Boss, I've got 2 dedicated chucks, one roller, one rotary. Let me switch over to XCS here to see if I can. X-Tool. Switch the rotary and framing. There we go. Stop framing. All right. I'm going to tell you, don't look directly at the laser. This is the one case where I can put the case all the way down, so I'm going to warn you. Let me get the camera set up here. I'm going to put the close-up camera on it. Lathe fold. We'll switch to this camera. Switch to this. Let's see if we can at least get it there. So ask about the rotary. I will actually run a quick rotary so you can see how it works. So in this case, this is going to work a lot like my other one does. From a rotary perspective, the laser, if I run the framing, you will see it's tough to see on there, but the laser goes back and forth this way still. It no longer does the full square like it did before. It literally looks like a line on the top, and then the chuck moves its way around. So if I actually engrave this, I think you can see it a little bit.
You lift this up in inches, so okay, that's the other way of doing the same thing.
You can see it going back and forth and engraving the logo. And I have my settings wrong. So let's be another one to prove that I did it wrong. So, grab this guy. I forgot. So the one thing I do have to do is I have to actually tell it that it's rotary. Because again, what happens is I switched it, but if I put it in front of the camera, you will see the Exotics logo is backwards and squished. So again, just by flipping over, I didn't go through my settings, fix my settings, and you can sort of recognize that that's the Exotics logo, but it's definitely not done right. David had to step away. David, you are the David. So you won the second giveaway, which if you weren't here, maybe you missed even with the, no, you must have saw what it was because you put your name in. So you must have been here for that part. So great for you.
We won't forget you, Dave.
So, David, the question is, what we need from you is, so you were the congratulations. What we need to do is tell us what you'd like on the back side. So we're going to put exotic blanks on the front side of your can koozie, and I'm going to put something you want on the back side, name, etc. Tell us what name to put on the back side, and we'll get that engraved. Sarah says, do you find you have to manipulate the image, squish or elongate to make the proportions come out right? For sure. Without a doubt. Your eye on round objects, especially on curved objects, is going to look different on square than it is on the round object. If you want something round and to look round, you will have to distort it. Again, it's where practice makes perfect. But you will have to distort the proportions. Anthony asks, is there special software needed for the rotary tool? Again, no. The rotary tools are typically tied to your machine. In general, all there is a setting to say, hey, I'm on the rotary. Now do the rotary instead of this. Depending on which rotary you're using, the chuck rotaries need to know the dimensions of your object specifically so that it knows how much to turn to do it right. Your roller ones are set to a specific speed for the rotary in general. So it's all about sizing. Crash asks, any tips on adjusting the image to engrave on pens? I will tell you, in general, adjusting images in general is the biggest thing. Number one, find the biggest image quality you can find to start from. If you start from a thumbnail of something, right? You start with something that somebody put on their webpage as a thumbnail, good luck getting a decent image out of it. It just doesn't have the pixels there to work with. So start with something big. Number two is be prepared to do some work on it, especially if it's something you're going to do often. I will find a lot of times I will take somebody's logo and pull in the logo. And on a logo itself, on, for example, a unique logo, let's say it's a lion or something else, the image of the lion probably isn't noticeable when you are dealing with that logo. It'll work just fine in general. What likely is going to catch your eye is when you've taken an image of somebody's logo and you imported it and you have grabbed text. Dave, your name on the back. You want first and last name or just first name? But when you're working with text, it's capturing that text. It's never going to be as good from coming from a logo to an image back to a text as the original text was. I find that unless it's text that's nearly impossible to replicate, I will find out what the font they used and erase the text part of the image and replace it with actual text over that same spot. So logos are definitely fun. I mean, in general, we could do a whole another multi-hour session on designing for laser engraving because that's a different beast completely. I did not go into that. Matter of fact, I even avoided showing the laser tools too much this time because showing it on the screen would have been about a lot of back and forth. And starting over is first and last, he says. So David laid front to back. We got to do that before we take it apart, hopefully. Inkscape and GIMP, great tools. I will tell you, if you're a laser person, Lightburn itself has quickly become the absolute best laser tool on the market, and not just for lasering itself, but for adapting to laser images. The editing capability, I do probably 95% of my editing of logos, etc. in Lightburn. Even if I'm actually going to use XCS, because XCS works with my X tool better for the actual doing the engraving and sizing it and getting it on and testing it and stuff, I will create that image over in Lightburn and then bring it over to XCS just to do the lasering. Somebody asked early on, do I use XCS or Lightburn. I use XCS as a laser interface tool. A lot of people will use it as a design tool as well. I use it purely as a laser interface tool. Regal Pen said, yeah, let's do that. I'm assuming you were talking about a whole nother YouTube about dealing with images. If that's the case, we could probably consider doing that. That's one I could do from Green Bay.
I have a question on images.
Yeah.
Have you used upscale, and does that help in your resolutions?
Upscale can. There's a couple of AI upscales that do a decent job, and I have used them. But again, if you're starting from a low resolution image to be a super low resolution image, you can only upscale so far before it isn't that good. Sarah says she's trying to figure out image files for dithering. I will tell you, doing an actual image is a whole nother another design YouTube Regal says. Okay, looks like I'm signing up for another one at some point. Luckily that one I can do I'll do that one remote. Dithering images is a much different thing. Putting images onto things is much different than putting logos, much different than putting on text and everything else. So you're talking image quality versus SVG. I didn't bring it with. I wish I would have. I've got some of my black business cards that I've done some AI-based images, a pirate one and a couple other ones. And that's where this guy really shines. The tiny little dot that this thing can do, it can make these incredible images that it dithers and can do the things. But again, could I do one of those images on a pen? Probably not. I'd have a tough time having a material that's good enough. Even our acrylics are good enough. Heck, I tried doing an image on a mug one time, and because of the thickness of the paint the powder coat paint that we're trying to get off, that's tough too. So, I mean, I've seen people that are successful at it, but that's a lot of work. All right, so we've got our 2 giveaways. I think we've got that. Again, if you saw a mug you want specifically, I didn't see any other ones, but reach out, send an email to sales. Otherwise, I know Dawn will be getting them on the website at some point. But like everything else, there's 8 or 9 different ones, which means she's got to take pictures and get pictures up for the variations, etc.
Wait. The creator gives you the pictures, right?
Yeah, okay.
238.
So other than that, I think we're getting down there. If you've got other questions, we can do the last couple of questions, but I think that's the majority of what I had. Like I said, we can definitely do some more laser demos. And again, like I said, I think some of this I could do remote, which means there are some other things we're talking about too. So there will be some other demos, but a lot of the laser ones could be done remote. Like I said, we did this for a couple of reasons. One is I wasn't sure how much I was going to be. I didn't think I was sitting there. I thought Ed was going to be sitting next to me the whole time, but he ran off camera. Because we can definitely do this remote. Ed can laser stuff. I can do that as well.
Okay, well, at this point, then I think we can say thank you to Dean. I will get on camera because we have been criticized
for talking off camera.
I think justly.
So, David Lang, I will tell you, you raised the point about the $100 lifetime license for Lightburn. Let me describe that for those of you who are thinking about Lightburn, and I've talked about it a lot, and they are an amazing software. Their license is lifetime. So once you've bought it, you can use that version of Lightburn for as long as you want. Their license is not lifetime upgrades. So if you're on version 2 and you want to upgrade to the next 2.1, 2.2, 3.0, etc., you will have to pay the renewal. I think it's like $30 a year. If you're using Lightburn, it's probably paying for itself every single time you use it, much less every time, every month, every whatever. So, and it isn't extremely active. I've been with it since version 1. I think they just released version 3. I don't remember. I haven't been paying. Well, actually, look. But they just went up another version number again. They're constantly adding features. They're constantly growing. They're doing things we ask. So yeah, it's $30 a year. It is well worth it. I have seen it every single year grow. They've got a fabulous developer platform. They've got a lot of features, and they keep growing better with features. Sorry.
No problem.
All good.
So once again, thanks to everybody who came, and thanks for your input. Those of you who thought that it was really good, go back to IAP and tell people what they missed. It will be interesting to see how well this works in YouTube. And it is an odd time, we think, but maybe it's not so odd. If this is a good time for you, send us information like that. We're trying to find where we can do the most good for the most people. And as Mark has said many times on this, we are looking for input for topics. And if you come up with topics that the three of us don't know, we will find other people who do know. And this was very convenient because obviously Dean is part of our group and very available to us. But even at that, he has a real job. And therefore, you have to try to accommodate, those people who he remotely calls bosses. So they have something we don't have. That's called lots of money. So yeah, we take what we can get when we can get it. And I think that from the looks of things, everybody was happy with us. But use it to send us more. Yeah, Sundays will be hard during football season. I won't be here on Sunday during football season. You're absolutely right, Revo. So, again, we'll stay here for a few minutes for questions. But for those of you who are just here to watch the presentation, you can consider it as being finished. And we will certainly talk to those of you who still have more information or want more information. So go right ahead and do whatever you want to for about the next 5 minutes or so.
So I will tell you guys, I don't post there a lot. There's two ways you can get a hold of me. If you're looking for something from Dean, you can definitely always go through sales. Dawn will get me whatever you send through sales if you forget how to get that. The other thing is again, I'm not very active on it, but the best platform to find me on is I can put it in the chat here after the video's done, or I'll add it to the description of the videos. On Facebook, I am Alpha Geek Creations. Again, on IAP, I was Alpha Geek. I've been known as Alpha Geek for, it's got to be 20-some years now. At least. More than that. Actually, it's more than that. So my nickname is Alpha Geek. My website and Facebook is Alpha Geek Creations. Again, I'm not very active there. I tend to do a lot of interesting little things. This isn't really a side business for me in the sense that I do a ton. I do make the mugs for MPG. I do some stuff for Dawn. I do some stuff for other local things. I work with, my wife belongs to the National Federation of the Blind. We do some stuff with them. And but I don't typically make and push a lot through any of my websites at the moment. So you can definitely reach me one of those two ways. Crash asked about a sale. So there's no actual sale with this. I know a lot of our YouTube lives, we have a sale and giveaways. There's no actual sale. Dawn will be selling the mugs through the website, and the flyer will come out later today. Ed's working on today. Again, being Sunday is a little weird. We've got the normal flyer that's coming out. My 5-point checklist. And I'm going to pull it up just to make sure I don't get it wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's actually 6 points. My 6-point checklist is focus. Again, if you do something out of focus, it's going to ruin the product because you're not going to likely be able to fix it. Origin. Again, this one doesn't have an origin, but it does lay out where the thing is on your thing, so you can use the little preview to see where it's going to be on the device. That's a lot like the origin. On my big device, it's an origin. Framing, which again, this one's got the framing, which will help you there. Power, make sure your power settings are right. I will do things. So one tip that I will give at the last minute here is if you're doing something new, let's say I'm doing a mug with a new design and I want to know if that mug is going to look decent. Before throwing out the design onto it and possibly wasting it, I will put masking tape over the mug. I will take my power way down to like 10% power and I will burn it on the masking tape. I'm actually burning it on the object. That's the size that I am planning on doing, but I'm not actually lasering the object. I am testing it out and I can see what it's going to exactly look like on it. And then you take the tape off and you put the real thing on, you forget to change your power and you're not actually lasering it right. then it's super light. So power is the fourth thing. Air, again, if I've got my air assist, I've got air assist. I almost always run it at about 5 psi for my engravings and 40-ish for my cuttings. If you don't have it on, forgot to turn it on, forgot to open the valve to say, hey, push the air from the air compressor in, then what's going to happen is you're cranking up, so you're looking, why is that smoking so much? The air should have, air. And number 6 is the exhaust. Is again, if you've got an exhaust system, this one turns on by itself automatically if you're using their cleanser. I vent at home. If your vent isn't on, and all of a sudden you're like, the laser's looking awfully smoky inside. Look over at the exhaust and go, whoops, didn't turn the exhaust on. So again, that's why on my post-it note I've got those 6 things. Is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can we get a mug on a specifically colored mug? We can
No.
talk through that, but
These
no,
are
I think he's saying on a purple versus the gold.
those are multicolored.
These are multicolored. If you're at Kevin, if you're actually talking about some of the other JDS mud colors that are available, like we did for MPG, I will tell you, yes, I could probably do something for you. It's going to be a little more pricey because it's going to be shipped from me versus coming out of Exotics. If there's something you want, definitely reach out to sales. I can do something custom, but again, it won't get shipped with your other products. It did get shipped from me remotely. So there is the possibility. Reach out to sales with your question, and there's a chance.
I think he's talking about the substrate. Were you not the
So if he's talking about so in general, the color underneath these mugs. The color underneath these mugs are multicolored because it's the plating underneath. In general, there's silver, there's gold, there might be a few new ones in general. The only colors that tend to vary in general, other than that, they're all silver till recently. This multicolor is a pretty new one. Is be like silver with whatever color the outside is, the black in this case. And I've got 14 or so different colors available to the outside. But underneath, there's not much available. It's either, like I said, it's either silver, gold, and there's only a few colors of silver. Sorry, there's only a few colors of gold and a few colors that have the multicolor. There's actually a rose gold out now underneath. But there's very few out there with about 15 different outside colors, which is why if you go to MPG, they've had purple, they've had blue, they had gray. For the outside color. So if there is something you want, like I said, send sales a note. I can do it. It's going to cost you a little more to get shipped, but it is possible.
Just to clarify, Dean is intimately familiar with us, so it's not natural to him. But when he says just send it to sales, the actual address is sales@exoticblanks.com. So that's where we get all of our communication. Don watches it probably 10 times a day. I watch it probably 5 times a day. So your message will get through to us. It will get answered if it's short and simple. If it's long and that, it will get answered someday, but not necessarily the day we get it.
And if it's for Dean, it'll get forwarded at some point, and then Dean will catch up with it at some point.
Which is true of all the guys that work with us. If you're trying to communicate with Dean or Mark or John, anytime, somewhat frequently, we get questions about John's blanks and can he do this and can he do that. Instantly, from the time I get it, it goes directly to John, and we get an answer for you and try to move on. So,
a couple other questions out there. Sarah asked if I looked into a gimbal for my rotary. I haven't needed. So again, everything I made so far between either the chuck or the roller, I've gotten pretty good luck with what I've got. I've got ways of adapting what I need for the chuck stuff. So I have not looked into a gimbal yet. I think there's possibilities, but again, it all depends what you're doing. With this rotary, zoom back out. Zoom back out. There we go. With this rotary, you can actually put it at an angle, and there's some other things people have done to make it do at an angle if you need to do angled things. In general, I have not. David says masking tape is a great tip. Thank you. I will tell you, it's the top tip somebody asked me and they're like, oh, I can do something without blowing a $15 thing or a $500 thing and test it. Yep. It doesn't help you test the material powers, but it definitely will help you know if you know your material powers, it'll definitely help you know if your image is going to look good on that shape. Perfectly, especially with round stuff. Like you're putting something round onto something round, it's going to look oval.
mm-hmm.
How oval? I don't know. Try it. Try it again. Try it again. Regal Pens asks, what's the purpose of the inline air? So most CO2 and bigger lasers have an air assist, is what they call it. And what it is I actually have small compressor next to it, hoses in, goes in through the laser. It does a couple of things. One, it goes into the inside of the laser and comes out the same hole that the laser comes out of. So the mirrors and stuff are up here coming down. It goes in the side and comes out that hole. That means any smoke that's coming back up from your product is getting pushed aside by that air. So it keeps the smoke out of the way, and it keeps the smoke from coming back up into your last lens and getting that lens dirty. Because if you get that lens dirty, that laser is no longer heating up the thing down at the bottom. It's heating up your lens, and you will destroy a lens. The second purpose of it is, again, it comes out and it goes down, and it cools that product that you're lasering. It actually is blowing air on it, and it's actually cooling it. So if you're doing an engraving, there's going to be less burn marks. If you're doing a cutting, that cutting is definitely burning its way through, and it'll stop that burning faster, which feels a little backwards because usually you add oxygen to a cutting, you're thinking it's going to burn more, but in reality is you're not really adding oxygen. There is actually some lasers that have an oxygen tank attached for helping cut. But in this case, you're just adding atmosphere, which is only so much oxygen, and it actually helps stop it. Ah, yes, purple underneath. Yeah, so Kevin, the purple underneath. This one is these guys. Try and give a better view. These guys are random, and there is some blues, red, oranges, yellows. So if you take a look at it, you can kind of see as it goes around, it changes color. And in some cases, the exotics is going to be one color, and the other thing on the other side is a different color, but they're all a little different based on it. It's got a continuous color change around it, a lot like the Prism pen kits. Very much like the Prism pen kits. It's got a color all around it. In this case, you're exposing different colors with different text. So if you look, I intentionally don't position them in the laser the same. I intentionally do them random so that different ones come out differently. So everyone's a little more unique. Lots of craft shows on Sundays. And again, the main reason for Sunday here, this was one of the few days in August that I could come up and pick up my lathe. So I have the weekends are going to be hard for me too. So the odds are most of these will still be Thursdays, etc. So but again, we were curious to see how well Sunday would work.
More than likely, most of them will be the fourth Thursday. It seems that the third Thursday has got problems with a lot of different military groups, vets groups that meet on the third Thursday. So looks like we're going to be changing to the fourth Thursday as a general rule. But best and most important thing, of course, is keep track of my email. Make sure you stay on the email list because every word in there is absolutely worth its weight in gold, I tell you.
You never know what pops in the next one.
I think Regal Pins is Audrey, in case you didn't know.
Okay.
Met her at AAW?
Yeah.
Is she there? Yeah, okay.
Or MPG.
Oh, that could be too. Again, I'm terrible with names, so that doesn't mean much until I see somebody. I am awful with names. My wife's the good one with names. I'm terrible. Thanks, John. I am looking forward to it. I think it's the same one you've got, if I'm not mistaken. Regal says you snitched.
John, you're welcome to come up and help us carry it.
Oh, God. See, you're worried about helping put it in. I got to get it back out of my car when I get home.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
All right. Anything else? Last questions. Otherwise, we're going to call it because I do have to get my lathe packed up and do a couple-hour drive home.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. We definitely appreciate your presence. And again, all the input was really good. So thanks again. And we will see you again in a couple of weeks. And again, pay attention to my email and you'll find out when the next one is. There's a lot in the works. So it all depends on how it all pans out, exactly when and where and all that good stuff. So thanks again and have a wonderful week. Bye now.
That's not right.
Well, by sometime soon.
I see.